Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode we are going to get the cylinder removed from Freddie's bike, and a little bit later on I'll go into the detail of why I'm replacing the cylinder head rather than doing the thread repair, because that has been a very popular question in the comment section of the video before the last one. But yeah, I've got a little bit of footage here of us getting the bike to the point it's at now. I'll do a bit of voiceover on that, and then we'll get the cylinder head off and we'll get a nice comparison against the very nice one that Chris from Ultimate Twin Performance has sent over. So yeah, we're taking the brake fluid reservoir off there and onto the airbox. It's amazing the stuff you have to take out in order to get the throttle bodies and the cylinder head out with enough room to actually work. So undoing those clamps. On the left hand side, this is the snorkel for the air intake. It's the filter cover. So get that off to clear that frame rail. And then out with the airbox. It's quite filthy, that is. It's going to need a bit of a clean. Then onto the throttle body clamps. They were a bit awkward, especially given this has all been apart already. And we get onto where I forget to unplug the injector harness. Get that out. And away she comes. Stick that on the shelf. And off with these intakes. Now I am going to have to show you the left-hand intake, the one with the air leak. The O-ring was actually just flush with the face. It wasn't damaged or pinched. I think it was just an old O-ring that had been reused. But we got new ones of those. There's the head steady coming out. Last few bits. Off with the wire harness. Now this isn't necessarily to get the cylinder head off and all that sort of work. It was just a case of given 42,000 miles and all the climates this has been in, it's particularly grufty, needs a good clean, and there's a couple of things I want to check on that, which we'll look into later on. And there's Emily cleaning the engine. So yes, as you can see, I've got the generator cover back off. I am back at the timing mark where I should be. I've already taken the cams and the buckets out. Taking the cams out was no different to the previous time we did it. What I'm going to do now, I've got the oil gallery feed from the pump to the top of the cylinder head to remove here. That's literally, so in here you've got, this boot's done for, just a fly lead, which is the switch to ground for the oil pressure switch, and then the pressure switch there. There's two copper washers, that disconnects there. Then what we've got in the front here, the back, get the cam chain tensioner out of here. So under this big nut there's a spring in there, pull that out, and then these two bolts here. That'll slacken the cam chain off. Then down in here, I'm hoping you can see it, might be better the other side. Down in here there's two bolts. We're going to undo those. We'll bring the cam chain guide, the front guide, out. That'll be nice and clear. Then the rear guide, which is part of the tensioner assembly, there is a nut, and I don't think I'm going to be able to show it yet, but just up in here underneath the oil pressure feed there's a dome nut in there that retains this to the cylinder head. But once I've got the front out, I can then undo this bolt here, and there's some spacers to catch. We can get the cam chain wheel out, centre driven gear out. Just need to make sure I wire tie this to the frame, just make sure this doesn't drop down into the crankcase. That's the only crisis point, and any of these spacers. So we'll get some rags and stuff in there just to make sure. But yeah, so I'm going to do that. My glamorous assistant is actually in Italy right now, so I'm trying to film this all on my own. So I'm sorry if the angles aren't the best, but we must make progress. Centre of the cam chain tensioner is a 19mm. Wind him out, and there'll be a copper washer on this, and then a long spring. And we've got a new one of these springs. So I'll show you the comparison of that when we're putting it back together. Two 8mm headed M6 bolts. There's those. Like so. Next is two TX30 bolts, deep reach TX30, a 3/8 ratchet, drop that in there, and there we go. And the key here is not to drop any of these bolts down in the crankcase breather tube or into the crankcase itself. Down in here. Don't know if I can show you this, but you can see where the socket's going. So the retainer for the cam chain tensioner blade is right up in here. So now we've got that other blade out. Off with the cam chain. We'll just hook him over there for now. That stops him dropping into the crank. And then we're going to want two Allen keys. One is an 8, I believe. It might even be a 6. 8. And the other side is 6. Just hold the centre shaft with the 8mm, and there's a domed cap screw there, which is a 6. So there is a sequence to undoing these, which I'll put on the screen now, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, they're tight. You see it, I'm taking it nice and steady and easing this off. Just repeating the sequence. This is where it gets interesting. So, small tip. Nice piece of plastic plumbing pipe through the cam chain. Yeah. And that'll stop the cam chain from falling into the crankcases when I undo this. Or at least come off the rest of the studs. There you go. Press that just there. Like so. Here we go. One Bonneville cylinder head. What is that? That piece of gasket. What have they done? What is that? That worries me. That really worries me. My God. What have they done? What is that? Okay folks, at the very end of this video, hopefully my battery's going to last. I've just pulled the cylinder head off. There's quite a bit of graft here, but can you see? I'm hoping this comes up on the camera. There is some debris there that's underneath the gasket. I don't know if it's a piece of old gasket or what it is. It's been in there when it's been fitted though. I just hope it hasn't damaged the surface of the barrels. Because when we come over here, I've got literally just tipped the cylinder head up and you can see on the base of the gasket here. Obviously I'll peel this off, but there's definitely a mark there that corresponds to that same piece. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have a bit of a look, but not good. Not good at all. Let me do a battery change and we'll have a look. So it's a different day. I've been contemplating what we found and the damage to the barrels and that gasket. Now, what I'm going to do over here on the bench, I'm just going to show you. Obviously, we had that damage there from that piece. Now, the only thing I can presume is, and this is purely guesswork, is that you see here we've got these embossed pieces on the end of the gasket, and all I can presume is on the old gasket, if one of those has broken out when it was removed, been left there, and the new gasket has been placed on top. That's the only thing I can think is that sort of size and shape and would end up in that position. Now the problem we've got is, you can see the damage here, it has actually embossed the gasket through the 3-ply there, and on the cylinder head, this might not come across in the camera, but I have got a photograph of this. There is an indent now into the upper surface of the cylinder head. Additional to that, hopefully this comes across well, but you can see where this has been cleaned. There's a lot of score marks and scratches, so that kind of further bolsters. I wouldn't want to run this cylinder head. Then we get onto the plug repair. A lot of people have said, why don't you do a repair, why don't you do an insert, helicoil, all those sorts of things. Now I've done a number of those in the past, and yes, they are a fantastic fix if it's the first time around and it's done, executed correctly. Now on this cylinder head in particular, hopefully this also translates, but you can see the thread that was actually damaged and not able to take the torque is the inserted, repaired thread from the previous failure. Now, having taken the cylinder head off, you can see here's the edge of the insert here. No attempt has been made to, given this cylinder head has been removed from the bike, no attempt has been made to match to the combustion chamber for this insert. So we've got some nice hard edges here for combustion to happen on, and here to here, not a very good way of identifying that. Try the screwdriver. You can just see this edge here is the edge of the valve seat, and this is the edge of the outer thread. Now remember, this has been cut into here as well, so attempting to get this out may be possible. Obviously you'd have to have the head off anyway, but given the rest of the damage as well, that really negates that as an option. And furthermore, once you get it out, you could probably weld it. The time, effort to then have it machined, get it lined up correctly, it is just more cost effective to replace the cylinder head. Now over here on the bench, I've got the cylinder head that Chris from Ultimate Twin Power has sent us. I've done a bit of cleaning on the fins, so it's starting to look particularly nice. A little bit more work to do there, but yeah. And as you can see, I've got the cams in the static position just to do the valve clearances, which is the video I'm about to record. But I wanted to go over this and just say, look, this is why I'm getting rid of this cylinder head, and this furthermore has kind of bolstered that decision. So where does that leave us? Cylinder head done with. Obviously we've got the new head gasket and all the other parts and seals on the bench over there. Then we come to the engine. Because of the deck height of these engines and the crown of the piston, there really isn't the room there to have the barrels skimmed. So what we are going to be doing is, I have now got a set of barrels and pistons coming from Chris, from I believe the same engine that cylinder head has come from, and we'll be fitting those. Once they've turned up, I will attempt to get this piece off of here, and we'll look into that. But in reality, I think that's scrap the barrels. You might be able to stone it out. If it was my bike, might be giving it a go just to see, but given how scarce the base gaskets are, and we have got one, I'll go into that in the next video. I don't want to risk putting this together and having to take it all apart again just in case there's a problem. So yeah, all these are options. You could choose to go one way or another, and I totally understand and I appreciate the feedback, and please keep it coming. But in this instance, I think I'd rather have known good barrels and pistons with good mated sealing surfaces in place, and it's going to be lower mileage barrels and pistons, so they'll match up to the head, and hopefully that will breathe plenty of fresh life into this bike in order for Freddie to carry on doing what he does, drinking coffee and providing great entertainment. So that's where we are. I don't want to drone on too much because this is the end of this video. I'm obviously waiting for parts to come now, hence why I've started sorting the shimming out so I can get those ordered. It's a little bit out, but that will also be in the next video. What I'm also going to do in the next video is I've got a little bit of a job on this fine machine. You can see here I had a load of problems with the exhaust, which is hanging up there actually. So I decided to fabricate a new downpipe and the rear part. This is now done and mocked up, tacked in place and ready to weld up, so we're going to be getting this finished, well, welded anyway, but that'll all be in the next episode. So hopefully something a little bit different. I'll get something done on my own project as well while I'm waiting for parts for Freddie's. But that's all for this episode, guys. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, thank you to everybody that has clicked on the buy me a coffee as well. That's mind-blowing, the amount of support. And yeah, see you in the next one.